welcome back to the channel. So, my name is Joshua Arsley of Joshua Reviews and News. So my last video was a Marvel update regarding the news of Daredevil Born Again and everything surrounding that show and that whole entire creative overhaul going over there at Marvel Studios. This right here is a DC update, and as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, we got some pretty interesting stuff to talk about here. But it's not going to be the only thing that we're going to talk about, because I have a lot of other photos here. Just to make something clear, I do watch Aaron Fisher's videos, and most of the images that I get from that I show on here is from his videos. So I'm just putting that out there before people start saying that I'm just copying him. I've also been seeing Aaron get a lot of hate recently, which I don't really get. But anyway, we have some stuff to talk about here. So the first thing I want to talk about is so this is coming from Cena House. Deborah Snyder talks in an interview how Zack Snyder and their family received extensive death threats while at Warner Brothers and DC. She has expressed that she is happy Zack Snyder is now at Netflix with his new projects. I think this is very messed up. And I also have a lot of other photos here to show the toxicity of real DC fans. Listen, if you don't like someone's work, don't watch it. Move on with your day. You don't need to be doing anything else, especially to this extent, because it's quite frankly stupid and idiotic. So, listen, don't be mean, okay? Are we having to go back to pre-K? Don't be mean. So, a new casting for Creature Commandos has come out. Anya Chalotra has been cast as Serki in James Gunn's Creature Commandos. Listen, I'm not really excited for Creature Commandos, so I'm not really going to give much commentary on this. I know she was in The Witcher, I believe, with Henry Cavill. So, I don't know. I also did have a new, did I not send it? Dang it. Okay. Anyway, here's another thing I want to show you guys. So, The Flash may become Warner Brothers' biggest flop of all time. Not just DC. Warner Brothers' biggest flop of all time. That's pretty hilarious. We know that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has sort of made a surge at the box office. I don't know why, as to due to the quality of that movie, but you know, we moved. But that shows you that people are still interested in these characters that Snyder had started. Maybe not the Flash, because, well, the whole situation with Ezra Miller and everything like that. But before all of that, when Zack Snyder's Justice League, all people were basically talking about were Cyborg, Superman, and the Flash. It was a popular character. So this is coming from James Gunn on Threads. The man is very active on there. He won't shut up. But, listen. He said, can you vaguely say about what made Warner Bros. Choose your Superman pitch? So many sorry. My phone has been acting weird lately. Anyway, listen. DCU updates on Threads asked Gunn, and obviously he's gonna respond because the man doesn't shut up on there. Can you vaguely say what made Warner Brothers choose your Superman pitch? So many pitches have been made over the years. Gunn replied, I didn't pitch. It was offered to me. I just didn't say yes until I was sure I had a solid story, which I pitched to individuals around me I trusted. So basically what he's saying here, Warner Brothers didn't even consider moving forward with Man of Steel 2 or whatever. Offered it straight up to Gunn. Unbelievable. How do you think someone who made the Suicide Squad think he can make a Superman movie? I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me. Speaking of Superman, I want to show this. So, this is essentially a picture of showing how great of a character Superman actually was in movies like Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League, etc. He buys flowers for his girlfriend, makes her laugh when she's sad, and cooks for her. Argues with his boss about the ethics of journalism and stands up for what's right by reaching out to victims as an attempt to get their voices heard. Calls his mother in the middle of the night to talk about his insecurities. Finds comfort and strength in memories of his late father. Attends the hearing about him when asked to. Walks inside the Capitol like any normal man would and humbly waits to be addressed before talking. Saves the man that nearly killed his girlfriend, kidnapped his mom, and created a monster just to destroy him. Holds Doomsday still so that it gets hit by the missile, not caring about mankind nuking him by doing so. Softly tells his girlfriend how much he loves her before sacrificing himself to save the world that rejected him for most of his life. Another thing that this picture is missing is basically the scene in which Clark is a kid and he saves the kids on the bus. That's missing. Because that's pretty ballsy to do, especially as a kid. Clark could have just got up and walked out. Said, bye, see y'all. I'm not dealing with you. He decided to use his powers for good and save his classmates, in which were drowning, dying, and potentially could have ended very, very badly. So listen, for all of you who say that Snyder didn't understand these characters, y'all were wrong. See, the thing that Snyder was trying to do is just approach the character differently. As any sort of director would do, if they hadn't tried to take any sort of risks, I would be confused. Because I think with the character of Superman, there are so many things that you can do, but if you just limit him down to just like one emotion, happiness, all the time, it's boring. It's a movie. The character needs a character arc. That arc was supposed to be expanded over 5 films. Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Man of Tomorrow, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. That's what was supposed to happen, but we're not getting that. Well, I do have something to talk about here. But for all of you who think that James Gunn is such the perfect guy to run DC, I want to sort of give you this. So this is basically James Gunn calling superheroes silly. How do you ride that line without going too far in one direction or other? He said, I love superheroes. I also think they're the dumbest thing that have ever existed. I have no happier times in my life than lying in my bed when I was 12 and reading comic books. I don't think life got much better than that. And yet the fact that we take these things so seriously as adults is ridiculous. Because people really would look at you like they look at Peacemaker. He's talking about Peacemaker here. This is fairly recently. Look at Peacemaker when he walks into a fennel field wearing a costume. What's wrong with you? You think that's cool? You're a maniac. The idea that superheroes are maniacs is something I like very much. Guardians is much different because it's really a science fiction story, a science fantasy story. No, the Guardians movies were different because Feige had a leash on you, keeping you intact. Which is why those films are so much different from the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Because Warner Brothers literally told you you could do whatever the heck you wanted. They're not superheroes. They're not wearing masks. Star-Lord literally has a helmet. Which is one of the reasons I think I had an easier time working my way into it. But in the Suicide Squad, you got guys wearing yellow costumes and all this stuff. What? That makes no sense. I decided to go for what it would really be like. Treating these people like gods is like what? So he's basically calling out Snyder. Right there. Which is very unprofessional of him. Like, what? So basically, going into the deep mythology and really exploring these characters is a bad thing. It's just really, really bad. You can't do that. You have to make them all goofy and tell wee-wee jokes every 2 seconds. Huh, interesting. This guy is making a Superman film. I have a hard time imagining a guy who's really serious and wants revenge making a costume for himself and putting black around his eyes so his skin doesn't show when you look him in the face. I can't tell who he's talking about there. Is that supposed to be Batman? I don't know. He's got the mask on. And also the eye makeup under it. There's a silliness to it that I can't deny. No, because it's fun. Because it's making fun. But because it seems to me that the silliness is what is real. So, how y'all are going to twist this in the comments, I'm intrigued to see. But, basically, you have someone who thinks that these heroes they don't matter. Which I think is hilarious considering he only makes comic book movies. So, I don't know as to why he would say this. I think it's pretty stupid of him to say it. Especially when he knows that there were Snyder fans like myself out there who like to call out his bullcrap. So, yeah. I also want to share something Batfleck related. So this is coming from Jay Olivia. This was coming all the way back from 2018, but I thought I'd share it. He was responding to a person that I guess was bashing Affleck. He said, "Hi, Bill. The original Affleck script, which, by the way, inspired The Batman, which came out in 2022, that was essentially Batfleck's film. Just had a few tweaks to it. So, for all who's saying that Matt Reeves is this genius, not really, because there were inspirations taken from Batfleck's script. The original Affleck script was the best Batman script I've ever read. Ben had a kick-butt story, and I believe that the audience and fans would have loved it." Speaking of Batfleck, a figure recently came out by McFarlane Toys. Sold out in under 2 minutes. So, anyone who says that there was no interest in the Snyderverse is completely wrong. This is coming from the butchered version of Batman vs. Superman, by the way, not Ultimate Edition. You have these movies in which have come out 8 years ago and are still selling out like crazy. You can go to a store and you can't find a copy. You can go and look to see in which the movies were inspired, the comics by, and those comics will be sold out. So for those who keep saying that there's no interest, please shut up, because there certainly is. And I'm about to talk about that in a second. Look, here. So, these numbers are adjusted for inflation. You have Aquaman with $1.3 billion. The Joker with $1.2 billion. Don't know as to why the Joker's on there as it's an Elseworlds thing, but okay. Batman vs. Superman would have made $1 billion. Wonder Woman made close to $1 billion, making $975 million. Suicide Squad, $894 million. Man of Steel, $824 million. The butchered Justice League still made $700 million. Or $771 million to be exact. If Zack Snyder's Justice League had been the one to be released, $1 billion, easily. The Batman. Notice how the Batman is way down here when it only came out like a year or two ago. That should be way higher up on the list, considering how many times people praise it. Now, it still made the studio money, considering the budget, but still. Shazam made $400 million. Birds of Prey made $200 million. Wonder Woman 1984 made $185 million. And James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, all the way down at number 12, $177 million. That's adjusted for inflation. David Ayer's Suicide Squad, which people seem to have hated, but yet creeped its way into the Netflix top 10. I'm gonna try and wrap this up real quick, because my phone's gonna be bugging out. But listen, James Gunn's Suicide Squad is all the way down here. David Ayer's is all the way up here at number 5. And it creeped into the... So listen. Sorry, my phone cut out. Suicide Squad's all the way down here. David Ayer's Suicide Squad is all the way up here. And which also creeped into the Netflix top 5. So, for those who say that it was such a bomb, you're wrong. Anyway. So, before I get into the last image I have here. Lois Lane will have a couple moments with Metamorpho in Superman Legacy, according to Rachel Brosnahan. Also, speaking of Rachel Brosnahan, she came out a few days ago and said that Superman is going to have a sense of humor in Superman Legacy. That was the first thing she said to describe Superman in Superman Legacy. Now, James Gunn and David Cornsweet have been out in Atlanta doing fight training, which does sort of get me a little excited because we know Gunn can nail fight choreography. But, the first thing she does to describe Superman is that he has a sense of humor. Listen, I'm not getting butthurt over Superman having a sense of humor. I think that's a major part of the character. Even back in Man of Steel and everything, there still had some humor moments with Superman. But for it to be the first thing that she described Superman with, it I wouldn't say it bothers me, but it gets me concerned. So, on to the main topic of the video. According to The Insider, which is a Hollywood Reporter insider, James Gunn's DCU is kind of a mess, like both Marvel and Star Wars. Interesting. So basically what I've been saying for like 10 plus months is true. Again, y'all are gonna say, you're only 16. What you say has no relevance to it. I don't know what you're talking about. A Batfleck toy, in which came out from a movie 8 years ago, sold out in under 2 minutes. Aquaman 2 started making a surge at the box office. I may not like the movie, but people enjoyed The Flash. So, for those who say James Gunn is the right person to lead DC, you're simply wrong. Now, the only reason as to why he's leading DC is because Warner Brothers originally came to Safran. And Safran said he wouldn't do it unless his buddy James Gunn was along for the ride. That's the whole reason as to why he's here. Originally, he was just supposed to make Superman Legacy and then dip out. Now, he has his hands dealt in literally everything. What are the things currently in production right now? James Gunn's Creature Commandos, James Gunn's Superman Legacy. And it was also being reported that Gunn is the one casting for Supergirl. They're not waiting to find a director. He's going and already looking for a Supergirl. Meg Donnelly, I forget the other two that are in the race, are currently in the running to play Supergirl that Gunn is looking at. But they still don't even have a director, I think. So listen, it's the Gunn show. And when you have people like Jeff Snyder coming out saying that the DCU is a mess, it's a mess. Also, I want to point one more thing out. So, there's this thing called the Warner Brothers A-listers community, in which I was not aware about until fairly recently when Aaron came out on this video explaining his optimism. He said that there is this group called the Warner Brothers A-listers community, in which Warner Brothers will send members of this community surveys. Which movies they like, what plans should they move forward with, etc. One of these surveys was very Snyderverse heavy, saying and asking things like, how much did you enjoy Zack Snyder's DC films, etc., etc., etc. I'll see if I can find the post here. Listen, I think Warner Brothers are starting to see the writing on the wall and seeing, yeah, people aren't really this interested in the DCU. Listen, to everyone who thinks that Gunn is the right man to lead DC, he is not. Because people, I don't think people realize this, a very small minority of the fandom are actually excited for this. Most of the general audience who goes to see these movies don't even know this is happening. So, when they see David Cornsweet come up on scene and not Henry Cavill, who was teased at the end of Black Adam, people are going to be like, what the heck? I want a refund. What the heck is this? I was promised this in the beginning. Why are we getting this in the end? So I think Warner Brothers is starting to see their mistake. I think there may be chance for them to course correct after Superman Legacy. Especially if it bombs, which I think it will. There's no way it's going to come to the likes of Batman vs. Superman or maybe even Man of Steel. What people have been asking for? Man of Steel 2, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, a proper Wonder Woman sequel. These are the things people have been asking for years. By the way, let me go back to this imagery here. How did Wonder Woman 1984, which came out, I believe, in the same year as the Suicide Squad, make more than James Gunn's Suicide Squad? The Suicide Squad came out in theaters and HBO Max on the same day. People had the choice to go to the theaters or watch it at home. People didn't either. They didn't care. But yet these Gunn fanatics will come out and say it's the best thing ever. Peacemaker had an average of 584,000 people watch the finale when it came out. Meanwhile, Zack Snyder's Justice League was called a global phenomenon by Warner Brothers executives. You don't see that happening with the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. I don't know why y'all are so butthurt on trying to get people to enjoy this when we were teased something brilliant in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Which my review will be coming out soon, by the way. I've been meaning to get to that. But, listen. Warner Brothers is currently on fire. I'm gonna just quote Aaron here. Warner Brothers is on fire. people are starting to slowly realize that James Gunn is not the person right for this job. He is refusing to release David Ayer's Suicide Squad cut because it would damage the reputation of his Suicide Squad movie. And for those saying that, Gunn wasn't even involved in the first Suicide Squad, blah, blah, blah. Gunn came out and said the other day on Threads, because again, the man won't shut up. He said that everything DC goes through him, except for maybe podcasts and comics. That's about it. Everything DC related regarding film, television, animation, gaming, pretty much goes through him. He is the creative head of DC Studios. Meaning he could have perfectly fine gone to Warner Brothers and say, hey, I think we should let David do his cut. I think we should let the fans have it. I haven't gotten it. And supposedly Gunn told Ayer a few months ago that he was going to release it. Still haven't gotten it. So listen. I think I've made my point. And I hope you guys have slowly turned. Because listen. When you have Darkseid teased at the end of a DC movie, especially to that capacity, and that level of epicness, and then the studio decides to go, that hurts. Imagine we got Infinity War, and it bombed, and Disney and Marvel came out and said, we're not coming out with Endgame anymore. Clearly people aren't interested in this story. Even though it may have been one of the best comic book movies ever to exist, the studio still would have been like, hey, we're not moving forward with the sequel. Imagine how many people would have gotten absolutely ballistic. You would have gotten ballistic. Now, obviously, Marvel Studios has their crap together a bit more than James Gunn does. And Warner Brothers, which is a bit mad. But still. So listen, to all the people who continue to say that this is the man for the right job, keep saying it. And then when Superman Legacy comes out, and it turns out not to be exactly what you want, I hope you're happy. So, hashtag restore the Snyderverse, release the Ayer cut, whatever. I'm going to be a Snyder fan probably until the day I die. The studio has wronged the actors, the producers, the writers, and the directors who were all involved directly in that universe. And decided to go ahead and hire non-qualified people to run DC Studios. Peter Safran, James Gunn, bringing back Christina Hudson, who wrote The Flash and Birds of Prey, both horrible movies. Yeah, listen, it's not great. So, I'll catch you all later. Do not, by any means, if you want to be excited for the DCU, go ahead. I'm happy for you. I am. Just go into it with a grain of salt, because this could get canceled fairly quickly. Especially if Creature Commandos doesn't do well on HBO Max. So, listen, I'll catch you all later. Peace out.